Hello, mindful friends. Today we're going to be talking about the expression, don't sweat the small stuff, how great it sounds, how we all know that if we didn't sweat the small stuff, we would be in a lot better space. And yet we all know that it's not quite that simple, and that there's a lot more that goes into being able to do that than just consciously decided, oh, I'm not going to care about this, or I'll just let this roll off my shoulder. I won't get overworked up about this. But most of us who have tried to do this recognize that at times these reactions to the small things seem out of our control. We can't quite stop ourselves from reacting or feeling the stress around them. And this is because a lot more goes into this than we would imagine. That it has a lot to do with our underlying stress levels, the state of our being, how much we have on our plates, and our overall perspective of self and the world. So it's not just a matter of making this one little shift and all of a sudden not sweating the small things. That this typically has to do with looking inward and creating a whole kind of lifestyle, perspective, a speed of doing things that supports the ability to not get so reactive in what might be labeled as the small things. And this is because when we sweat the small things, and I have been there myself, where and it's hard to say what are little things depending on everybody, but where hiccups in my day would cause me, totally derail my mental well-being. Like one little thing could throw me off for the day, and I could feel my anxiety going. All of a sudden I was panicking about things. The catastrophizing happened. I can feel it in my body. My heart rate goes up. Maybe my palms get sweaty. Or we might actually get reactive, and some of us might yell at our partner or our children or whatever, and we're like, whatever, was just a little spilt milk. What happened there? We've all been there. And what's happening in those moments is that we're in kind of self-protect mode. We're already feeling stressed. There's something in our perspective or our lifestyle that says you're on the verge of not being okay. You have to be vigilant. You have to take care. And when you're already in that heightened state, these little things that come on, it's just that extra little triggered. We're already heightened, and so that pushes us that little bit more. So if somebody comes to you and tells you, well, don't sweat it was just spilt milk. Yeah, okay. Well, there's a lot more involved in that, because now I have to look at, well, why was I in that heightened state, that reactive state? What in me was already feeling threatened or unstable, and like I needed to protect myself immediately if something didn't go quite right. And so it's a lot bigger than just that little moment decision to be like, why are you overreacting? Well, bring a little compassion in and say, probably because my kind of lifestyle, the situation I've been living in, or what I've been building in my life recently has created this environment where I don't feel safe in general. And this can happen to us for a lot of reasons, is that we're moving too fast, we're doing too much, we have too much on our plate, or our perspective is that we're not safe. And I think for me, this was my underlying kind of filler that already made my bucket ready to overflow is that I always had this underlying assumption, I'm not safe. And I'm clinging on by my fingernails to be okay here, to have enough money, to make sure I can pay my rent, to make sure I can get enough into my schedule and I keep showing up for my job. And so it was like I had this perspective that everything was teetering on a very narrow cliff edge. And so I had a heightened level of anxiety already. So when one more thing came, it was like, that little burst of wind that might tip me over. And I was just recognizing the other day that this is easing in me, which I feel so grateful for, because that underlying bucket level of anxiety is starting to decrease. I no longer feel like I'm standing on a cliff edge and fighting for safety at all times. But let me tell you, this took a really long time to get here. And it's, I have my moments still, but I was recognizing the other day the effect of this, and it's that I can get an unexpected bill in the mail and not have my heart rate go crazy and feeling like I can't make it. I'm not any richer than I was before, let me tell you, but I don't see it as an imminent threat anymore. Or like a couple weeks ago, and even today, my computer has been on the fritz. So it went into like the start stall cycle, the black hole of death, you can't get out of it. And I'm awful at saving my documents, so I have nothing backed up. My whole career is on there. The whole book that I wrote is on there. And before, this would have sent me into a spiral. Like, I'm not okay. This is the end of all things. I'm going to lose my career. This is my money. I won't be able to work. And none of that happened this time. It was a disappointment. Yes, I have to add this into working out what's going on, figuring this out, but it did not feel like it was going to overflow my bucket. Wow, don't we all want that, where we don't have to sweat the small stuff? But it took me years to be able to not sweat the small stuff. It took me time of being able, making choices on a daily basis that created a lifestyle that did not cultivate panic. This means moving at a pace that feels good to you, not taking on too much, building your resources of how you feel safe and stable, knowing where to turn for support and trusting that you have that. And so this process, if you feel like you are reactionary and everything in life feels like one extra to do is just way overwhelming, you're not alone. Many of us feel that way, and it's based on how we're building our lifestyles. And also show compassion to yourself. It's not going to change overnight. If we've been developing this lifestyle on running 1,000,000 miles a minute and clinging on by our fingernails, our stress level and anxiety level is not going to come down overnight. But we set the intention in, we recognize that it's happening, and we make one move at a time to decrease the amount of panic in the bucket so that it's lower. We've created a lifestyle that supports us being able to tolerate the small things. I don't want to, it's hard to ever label these things because, again, small is relative for everybody. But you know what I'm saying, where the extra to do or that extra bill in the mail does not send you into a day of anxiety. And we get there by step starting to make the choices and changes in our lives that set us up to have the support we need and to have the lifestyle that empties our bucket a little bit. And then it happens quite naturally. I don't have someone, you didn't tell me, what is wrong with you? It's not that big of a deal. when you're in that stress state and your bucket is full, let me tell you, it feels like a big deal. So if you're there, be compassionate with yourself and know that it's a lot bigger than just the small thing. It's your overall bucket. And you may need some help in learning how to decrease the level of fear in that bucket. And that will support you in being a little more tolerant and able to resilient with the smaller things in life or the day to day. If you want to learn more about this or take other classes, you can visit us at newleafmindfulness.com. These teachings and many more on how to build this kind of lifestyle that keeps that bucket in a good spot, they can be found in my book, Living from the Heart, Healing Ourselves so we can heal the world. And you can find that anywhere you buy your audio or print content. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you all very soon.